Maybe. Okay.
Start the meeting, and Representative Howard will lead the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our first order of business is to vote to allow remote participation by Representatives Council and Dean. They are available to so they are away for good reason to protect us from possible germs. So in order to have them participate by remote access, we will be vote to allow them. All those tonight will be by roll call vote.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to allow the remote participation of the representatives. Second.
Motion made by Representative Lang, second by Representative Aldrich. Clerk is ready. You can call the roll.
Representative Howard.
Present. And we're voting on
We're voting on remote access.
Oh.
Yes. Yes to that too.
Taking the roll.
So yes, and you are here.
Two first.
Representative Aldrich,
Yes.
are you here?
Not all of you.
Representative Bean, excuse. Representative Board.
Yeah, yes.
Representative Harvey Bollier,
Yes.
Representative Huff,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Littlefield,
Yes.
Representative Bourget,
Yes.
Representative Silver,
Yes.
Representative Terry, yes. Representative Barney. Yes. Representative Sylvia,
Yes.
Representative Comtois. The vote is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I'm
yes.
hearing yes.
Oh,
Representative Lang votes yes as well. We don't count tonight.
You're not on the, you're not on the, on the.
Approved list.
I know that's the
Sorry.
God, I didn't do this. Representative O'Hara.
President, yes.
All right, 13, 0.
Representative Lang.
Representative-
Please,
You're not-
twice I gotta cut my name on the
All right. All right, your name's not on the list either. I don't know what happened to you, gentlemen. Representative Lang, all right, now we're up to 14. Excuse, Comtois, excuse, Dean, excuse. Mostly, yeah.
All right,
Why
so,
would they be, wouldn't they be able to vote via Zoom?
Not to
Not to
Oh,
accept
no,
them.
okay, sorry, yes.
so the vote being in the affirmative, the members will be allowed to participate remotely. Representative Bean and Comtois, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, very good. And our sound system seems to be greatly improved. Thank you. All right, on to business. We have minutes from September 7th and September 9th.
I'm, as, are you appointing me Secretary Pro Tem?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll send the minutes as well. As Secretary Pro Tem for this meeting, I move on behalf of Secretary Comtois the approval of the minutes of September 7th. If there's a second, we'll open the discussion.
Seconded by Representative Boards. Any corrections needed for the minutes? All right, we will wait for the clerk to.
The vote is to approve the minutes of September 7th as presented. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Aldrich,
Yes.
Representative Ford,
Yes.
Representative Bean, Representative Harvey Bolia,
Yes.
Representative Huff,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Littlefield,
Yes.
Rep. Lejay,
Yes.
Representative Silver,
Yes.
Representative Terry, yes, Representative Barney, Representative Trache,
I'm gonna abstain.
Representative Comtois, Representative Sylvia,
Yes.
Representative O'Hara.
Representative O'Hara,
Abstain, not present.
Representative Lang.
Yes.
And I apologize for that, but those Representative O'Hara and Lang were absent on that roll call roster, so that's why they're not there. And I apologize.
All good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 to 0. 13 to 0 with 2 abstentions.
All right, and the motion carries. The minutes are approved for September 7th.
Okay, we'll do it again. This time I move the approval of the draft minutes of the September 9th meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you.
All right, the minutes of September 9th, moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Any discussion? When the clerk is ready, call the roll.
Representative O'Hara.
Abstain, not present.
Representative Lang.
Abstain, not present.
Representative Howard.
Yes.
Representative Aldrich.
Yes.
Representative Bean. Representative Boards.
Yes.
Is there a chance of-
You gotta wait. till-
I was gonna say,
Harry, yeah.
jumping over Bean really quick.
Representative Bean. Is he in?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Representative Harvey Bolia.
Yes.
Representative Huff.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Littlefield.
Yes.
Representative Lejay.
Yes.
Representative Silver.
Yes.
Representative Terry. Yes. Representative Barney. Representative Trache.
Yes.
Representative Comtois.
Yes.
Representative Sylvia.
Yes.
6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 0, 2 abstentions. Motion passes. That concludes my report.
Minutes are accepted, approved. So the chair of the Gunstock Delegation Commission and incorrectly stated vice chair. In the enabling statute, there is no vice chair for Gunstock. There is a chairman and a clerk. This is addressed from chair and vice chair and 2 other members. The request to disqualify members of the delegation from voting in this business. And apparently includes a request to disqualify myself, Raymond Howard, Barbara Conklin, Glenn Aldrich, Tom Bourget, Harry Bean, Greg Huff, Dawn Johnson, Richard Littlefield, Paul Terry, and Peter Barney.
How do you vote?
Essentially, this would leave no members the ability to make a decision in this matter. I find this to be rather absurd, presented to us 5 minutes before this meeting. And I don't know who is not listed here that could possibly even make a motion. There would not be a way to vote on it. There would not be a quorum to vote. So this action is without merit, and I can see no other option than to dismiss this request.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Lang.
So I guess as I read this, some of the concerns that are in here relative to prejudgment, I disagree with the statement about Representative Silver controlling all his people, but the statements made other than that, does that seem to be without basis other than just like a statement? Should we not at least discuss that, whether or not is prejudgment a reason for disqualification on this vote? If people have made preliminary statements in advance of public hearing about how they intend to vote or what they intend to do, should that not be a cause for disqualification? It would be in the case of a judge. So I'm wondering whether here it applies.
This is a representative body, so we're going to proceed with this action. We can't have our legislative body controlled by, in fact, a group who is subordinate to this body. We are the appointed agency. This is why this action has been called here for us to address tonight. I find this to be a maneuver to the citizens of Gwinnett County, their legislators' reasonable actions in this matter.
So I guess I'm
I
still
don't know what is.
trying to look for my question and get answered. Is prejudgment and disqualification for the purposes of this? We're supposed to have a public hearing, come in and have an understanding of what they're asking for in terms of the removal of the commissioner. And so we predisposed or pre-answered the question without even the public hearing. Does that disqualify a member?
I don't know that anybody has prejudged this issue. Do you know that anybody has prejudged this issue?
Let me finish reading his statement here.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Silver.
Mr. Chairman, this is a legislative body, not a judicial body. So the rules on disqualification that might be applicable to a judicial body do not apply to this. The chair of the delegation controls the agenda, and it's up to you how we proceed.
Mr. Chair, the way I read this, the statement that is being made to us is to the effect, quote, on page 2, from our research, we believe Representative Silver thinks he controls the following members of the delegation based on a review of delegation meeting minutes and voting records. That's an opinion. Also speaking to Representative Silver's state of mind. With all due respect, I believe that each member of this delegation has the opportunity to make up his or her own mind on the issue without it being attributed to Representative Silver's mind, with all due respect.
All right, further discussion for Representative Board.
I'm just reading here, it says, in addition, Rex Silver has made statements indicating, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but do we have any proof of these statements?
Well, we are not here to evaluate a letter from.
I'm just saying if there's a statement and there's.
And I must say, unless this was done in a public meeting or a non-public meeting, it's invalid anyway. I don't know that there was a meeting to prepare this letter. So if these four commissioners have been acting outside of the public, then you would have a problem with that also. So we're going to continue with our agenda as it was previously determined. And we'll just carry on. The Gunstock Commissioner,
Could I be heard very briefly on this? We're addressing the merits of the hearing, just the procedure. I can have 2 minutes. This is a quasi judicial proceeding.
you are.
Oh, I'm sorry, my apologies. My name is Attorney Thomas Quarles. I am the attorney for the Gunstock Area Commission. And with me tonight are the 4 members of the Gunstock Area Commission that are the authors of this memo. So very briefly, I'm not going to get into the merits of the removal question, but just this procedural question. We believe we have very serious evidence that Representative Sylvia and Representative Silver have prejudged the outcome of this hearing. And under New Hampshire law, it is our duty before the hearing proceeds to raise the request for disqualification. Because the law is clear, if you don't raise it before the hearing starts, you've waived the disqualification issue. So that's why we've taken this extraordinary step of asking that the entire delegation read the memo and take action on the disqualification issue. And again, I won't get into the merits of the case, other than the merits of the disqualification piece. And again, we don't make these charges lightly. We believe the attachment and the email from Representative Sylvia to Gary Kadash, the chair of the Gunstock Area Commission, on its own face and in Representative Sylvia's own words, say that he's prejudged the matter. And then on page 2, the discussion of the meeting that Representative Silver and Commissioners Kadash and Gallagher had with Commissioner Spanos, and the statements made there are why, unfortunately, we've had to raise this issue of we feel like these 10 people, which is less than the so-called 13 to 14 that Representative Silver said he controls in terms of votes on this delegation, but why these folks need to be recused as well. Last thing, you can have a meeting of unrecused or qualified delegation members, even if it's as few as 3. That is permissible. And under the circumstances, obviously, I can't read everybody's names, but we presumably have at least that many people we've not asked to be recused, and that would be the delegation going forward on this issue that we were proposing.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, could you vote on the absentee name?
Would you spell your last name for the record?
Certainly, yeah. First name's Thomas, last name Quarles, Quarles.
Mr. Chair,
We are continuing.
so given the statement made, wouldn't it be best in the appearance of impartiality to have yourselves and Representative Silver recuse themselves from this rather than have to take a formal vote? We want to feel ethical and reasonable and responsible if we choose to remove a person from office or keep a person in office without any overhanging baggage, so to speak. And we still would have a quorum, still have the necessary number of members, and we would dispel any chance of cause of action for lack of impartiality or anything else.
I believe that this is just an attempt to disrupt this process, and we're going to continue with the process.
Mr. Chair,
Representative Comtois.
thank you. I didn't hear all the names that were read, but it sounded to me like from the list that I heard, and I'm not positive, and I could be wrong, but it sounded like all the representatives that voted for Jade Wood for commissioner are the ones being asked to be recused. Could you, so I'm just asking the question because it seems very, that's how it sounded to me, that list. Because
Representative
there are 9 people being recused, correct?
and Representative Jean do not have the copy in front of you, and we are moving on from this issue. This letter is simply a delay tactic.
Okay, thank you very much.
Moving on, the Gunstock Area Commission has made a very unusual request for the delegation to remove Commissioner Ness. We are the appointing body and have the authority under the enabling statute 399:4 to remove the commissioner for cause. This is a public hearing, not a trial. We have been presented the minutes of the Gunstock Area Commission containing the allegations, and we have the response from Commissioner Ness. I expect that we will evaluate this material presented and determine a path to resolution. Something predetermined by myself. So I'd like to start the discussion with a motion.
I have a motion.
Representative Silver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that we dismiss the charges against Commissioner Ness and dismiss the report requesting that he be removed from office. I'd like to speak on the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Representative Aldrich. Second the motion.
Excuse me, Representative Silver, are you requesting a dismissal of the request? What I heard was you're dismissing charges
Dismissing the charges and the request that he be removed.
and the request that he be removed.
Yes.
Thank you.
To speak. I have read, I believe that everyone on the delegation has received the 7-page memo from Mr. Quarles that is dated August 19th, 2021, in which says, I've been asked by the Gunstock Area Commission Chair Gary Tidash and Vice Chair Brian Gallagher to research and give an opinion on the legality and propriety of the conduct of Commission Member Peter Ness. And then it goes through and it talks about a variety of things. It seems to me that there are 2 or 3 areas that are very specific. One is a claim that Mr. Ness has engaged in a conflict of interest, as they claim that he has repeatedly tried to get Gunstock to buy a snow sports construction software program that he has an ownership interest in. I have been supplied with a case where the New Hampshire State Supreme Court has dealt with the issue of what constitutes a conflict of interest. And basically, there actually has to be some consideration paid. It's not enough merely to talk about a proposed transaction or anything of that sort. And according to, let's see, this is, I'm trying to find the case, but I'm having trouble finding the case, but I have a Supreme Court case somewhere in my materials. Basically, Supreme Court case. This is called Atherton versus the City of Concord, Supreme Court of New Hampshire, August 23, 1968. The court said it is a general rule of law in the law of New Hampshire that there is a conflict of interest when a public officer votes on a matter in which he has a direct personal and pecuniary interest, and then there's cites there. They further state, however, the rules also well established that to disqualify the personal pecuniary interest of the official must be immediate, definite, and capable of demonstration, not remote, uncertain, contingent, and speculative. That is such that man of ordinary capacity and intelligence would not be influenced by it. And then they cite numerous New Hampshire cases. According to the rebuttal that's been submitted by Commissioner Ness, he admits that he has an ownership interest in a company that has a software program that he brought to the attention of the Gunstock Area Commission and some of the employees at Gunstock. He has also advised that, number one, the software program in question has never been demonstrated to anybody at Gunstock. No one on the commission, no employees, no executives. There has been no submission of a proposal to purchase or get a license to use the software. No statement of how much it would cost or any kind of details like that. When he discussed according to Mr. Ness's submission, when he discussed the availability of the program with the general manager, he was told there was no interest in it and it was dropped. So I think under the statute, under the Supreme Court case specifically, there's been no conflict of interest because there's been no vote. He hasn't voted on anything. He hasn't proposed that Gunstock buy the software. There's been no proposal, no demo. It's just vague discussion and it's just talk. That's number one. Number two, in some of the charges, I believe, there seems to be that the Gunstock Area Commissioners would like to force out Commissioner Ness because he refused to sign the ethics policy of the Gunstock Area Commission. And he's provided legal justification that New Hampshire is, as we all know, a Dillon rule state, not a home rule state, which means that the only thing that local government entities can do or require is what they have been allowed to do or require by the general court. I've read through the Gunstock Area Commission enabling laws as amended. There's absolutely nothing in there regarding the adoption of an ethics policy. So that appears to me to be a non-issue. The final thing that seems to be why they would like to get rid of Commissioner Ness is that he has interacted directly with employees at Gunstock, asked questions, some of whom may not have liked the questions. But my view is that one of the reasons we appoint commissioners is to oversee the operation and to ask questions, and they're entitled, each commissioner, without having to go through the chair or the general manager, has the absolute right and in fact duty to make inquiry about the operation of Gunstock. And I think that's what Commissioner Ness has done. Maybe he ruffled some feathers, maybe some people got upset, maybe he questioned people's qualifications because of his experience as a snow ski instructor. But all of that stuff that's in this memorandum is hearsay and is certainly not grounds, I think, for removal for cause. So I suggest that this matter we should vote to approve this motion to dismiss this request. Thank you.
Representative O'Hara.
Mr. Chairman, are we actually gonna get testimony or are we just gonna have lawyers talking back and forth?
We are not taking testimony. We are basing our decision tonight off of the information that's
Letters and
presented.
lawyers?
The information that's presented by Representative Ness and the information presented by Gunstock, which was published on their website and is very thorough, including Attorney Quarles.
Both of these are hearsay though. So how are we gonna make a decision on two hearsays?
So we are going to evaluate the documents that we have and decide what path we're going to pursue. Currently, the motion is to dismiss based on the information provided. We are not here to take testimony. We are not here to swear in witnesses. If the delegation chooses to go that route, we can set up a trial, or essentially a trial. But that is not the intention for tonight. We did not give notice to Commissioner Ness that we would be doing, or the rest of the commissioners, that this would be some kind of trial to present evidence. And that was made clear last week So I set out last week the concept of the rules that we will be following tonight, and that's what we're doing. This is the current motion. If this motion fails, then we can take another motion.
So, Mr. Chair.
Are all the commissioners present from Gunstock? I don't know who they all are, that's why I was asking.
Yes,
They're
they're all present.
Yes.
All commissioners are present. Excuse me, we're not doing any testimony. We'll carry on with the motion that we have at the end here. Questions? Representative Lang.
So now I'm really confused because Representative Silver said this isn't a judicial proceeding. We wouldn't be disqualifying people based on judicial conduct. And then he goes to cite the New Hampshire Supreme Court Concord versus Atherton. So either we're acting as a judicial or quasi judicial organization and in this evaluation of removing a commissioner's appointment, or what? I think the only two pieces of evidence we have a letter saying I didn't do it and a letter saying this is everything he did. Is this the entire merit? Because everything Representative Silver just talked about, we have no evidence in front of us. It's not contained in here and it's not contained in here. It's just something that he went and said and heard and we found out about, but we don't know the veracity of any of those statements. We have no one to ask.
Would you like an answer?
Sure, go ahead.
The Commissioner Ness slated those cases in his reply to the incident. That's been available, and I sent that out to the delegation members. Anyone could have.
I'm familiar with that. My question is whether we're acting as a quasi judicial organization in this role, in this function of our delegation, and where we're adhering to Supreme Court decisions and we have to make a vote or a judicial ruling, so to speak, on whether or not to retain a person in this position. If that is if we're following judicial precedent, judicial thing, then we should follow it, not pick and choose which pieces we're gonna follow.
We are following 399:4 as the appointed agency. We have the ability to remove a Gunstock commissioner for cause. That's what we are determining here today.
And to determine cause, we're just using these two pieces of paper.
We are determining whether we proceed with this or if we dismiss it. Currently, the motion is to dismiss it.
Based upon-
Okay, I get it, so he wants to dismiss it based, okay.
Based upon-
It's not hearsay.
Is that, am I not being clear?
No, I get it, I just wanna know why we're not looking more into it then. If there's possible any corruption or conflict of interest, I don't care about,
This is,
I don't know who Commissioner Ness is. I've never met him, but if there's a possible conflict of interest or anything of that nature, why are we not looking more into it?
why are we just moving to dismiss it immediately?
The snap finger of dawn.
Question, Mr. Chair, with respect to a definition of hearsay, I'm curious what that means. In fact-
Alleging and alleging.
Well, I haven't finished speaking. May I finish? It's all, Mr. Chair, we're always going to have alleging. We can allege here from now until the end of the world. We have a complaint and a request from the Gunstock commissioners, and then we have a response from Commissioner Ness. I would not characterize that as hearsay. I would characterize that as a statement of by both parties, and we're being asked at the present time to make a determination based on the statements of the two parties. How that gets to be hearsay, Mr. Chairman, is beyond me.
No evidence.
Correct.
Of anything.
Well,
One way or the other.
Yeah,
No evidence.
it's he said, she said.
That's hearsay.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair,
of course it is.
if I may, Mr. Chair.
Representative Lang.
So again, in looking at this and to me, I'm going to, we have the allegations made by the commissioners, and we have the response to that. In their allegation, they said that Commissioner Ness has made repeated responses, and yet Representative Silver states that never happened. That wasn't, that it was dropped, but we don't know that was dropped. We don't know how many people he talked to. We don't know how much pressure was applied and whether it rose to the level of interference or some sort of, quasi, an unethical kind of action. We have a statement here that the commissioner said it happened multiple times. We have a statement here that says because he actually closed the deal, it's not an ethics violation. I'd still like to know exactly what happened.
We have presented to us two pieces of testimony. One is from Gunstock Commission, one is a reply from Commissioner Ness. Those two pieces of evidence are what we are evaluating to make our decision to go forward in this matter. Currently, the motion is to dismiss. So Representative Silver finds that the evidence presented by Representative Ness outweighs the evidence presented by the commissioners. Do you have an opinion on the evidence that has been presented before us? Representative Boards.
So according to this, it says public hearing on removal of gun stock commissioners. Can we move on to that public hearing?
This is the public hearing now.
This is the public hearing in that motion.
We're not listening.
So the public hearing is based on 2 pieces of paper and hearsay.
Do you have something to say or?
Okay, that's it. No, that's my statement.
All right. Representative Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I'd like to take this opportunity just to bring the fellow members of the delegation up to speed on our role in the Gunstock Area Commission. Since 2015, I've been on the delegation subcommittee that oversees how things proceed at Gunstock. Watchdog, if you want to call it, or it really started with the negotiations of a new MOA that was about to expire. Now, a lot of things have changed in the last couple of years on how Gunstock operates. And just, I don't want to get too long and boring with this, but I pulled an agenda. Change on August 24th, 2016. Now, back then, they had a correspondence part of the agenda. They had an action item. They had written reports, a financial report, a profit center report, a marketing report, a human resource report, operations report, general manager report. And then under old business, there was a memorandum of agreement with the Belknap County fiscal year 17 merit increase. And old business is BCD Gunstock Subcommittee, and then affiliated agency reports, miscellaneous Gunstock area objectives. Pulling a recent agenda item, we had minutes of previous meetings, public and non-public, which seems to almost never occur a few years ago, but lately non-public seems to be a routine. Then it goes on to new business, 21 draft financial audit review, 2021 bonuses, ethics policy, old business parking lot, master plan. Nothing about the Gunstock operation. So that's one thing that has changed. And the chairman of the delegation during the night of the appointment of a new commissioner made a comment about how they changed how things were done operationally at the ski area. And I believe they made a change that eliminated their authority, for one thing. They handed all their authority over to the general manager. And there have been other statements in the past couple of months that I feel I need to set the record straight, for one thing. I don't know if this is the time to do it. But I do agree with what Representative Silver said about this being a witch hunt after Ness refused to take the oath of pledge for the ethics guidelines. Because before that, there was nothing in any minutes, and there was nothing ever said. I attend all of it. There was never ever any comment about Ness interfering with staff. There was never anything mentioned about it. This all just came to a head when he refused to sign the ethics policy. I can go on. I'm not done. I still have some corrections. So this board knows, what's reality here and what isn't.
Representative O'Hara?
I'll stand down for now.
So that's all, I agree with you on that. If there's any issues financially with the gun stock and any operation changes that need to be made, we should address that. But if there's a conflict of interest in someone trying to push a product that they have profit in to a county taxpaying organization that they oversee, then we need to know that. Or if they're verbally harassing staff or anything like that, we need
It
to
was
know
never
that.
done in a meeting.
But I don't, that doesn't matter. We need to know, we appoint them, right? We're responsible for them. That's all I'm trying to say
How are
is
we to know if it's never is?
by talking to them.
Yeah, we should
They're
have,
here
Yeah,
by
we should
talking to
allow-
them.
we should be allowed to speak with them and get some input.
That's all I wanna know is just hear what they have to say before we make a choice.
So regarding the conflict of interest of selling something to gun stock, there needs to be a transaction in order to
It's
have
still
a sale.
imagery. Imagery is still horrible and we all know that.
What?
Imagery is horrible. If someone's pushing a product on our taxpaying organization,
That is,
that is horrible.
when they're in
No
a
matter if
position
the
of power.
commissioners are smart enough to not take the vote or not, that's still horrible imagery.
yes, it would be if it were true.
That's why we need to know if it's true.
The fact of the matter is, the law requires that a sale be made to have a conflict of
We're not a
interest.
judicial body. We're not. You just said that. We're not a judicial body. We're not charging. We're just taking an accusation.
We would like more than just a piece of paper with two accusations from both sides.
Representative Huff, you're up for the first time.
Yeah, I just. Representing Silver Award. Folks here are,
Just
your profession wants to know numbers, okay? This right here is, from what I can understand, is these folks asked us here to make a decision on what they presented us, okay? Then they presented us something that said that they didn't want to make a decision, they wanted everybody here to not be able to vote on it. What has been presented in front of us has nothing to do with legality, has nothing to do with anything. It is akin to two children fighting over something that is totally irrelevant to any operations or anything going on. And as a friend of mine who has two children, one's dead in front of me, I only have one, so I didn't understand it at the time. When the two children came in and they were arguing and they wanted the father to do something about it, he said, go handle it yourself. This is not something we need to do. I say we move on to the question and vote on this proposal.
Any further questions from or comments? Representative O'Hara.
so if we vote yes to dismiss this, there's nothing we can do to try and see if there's any issue in the count in the gun stock commission. Is that basically where this lays?
One more time.
If this decision to dismiss the charges, which I don't know if the charges, but passes, then do we just not look into this conflict of interest anymore? It's just gone.
So I would say that the conflict of interest is not a real prospect. You have 4 commissioners that would absolutely not buy anything from Commissioner Ness. I don't see how that's even a remote possibility. Representative Lang.
So again, I guess I look at it this way, is that we're looking at, we have commissioners who are dealing on a daily basis with gun stock versus us who don't have any real influence or have followed the day-to-day activities of what's going on in gun stock. We have enough trying to keep up the state house. And we have allegations of things like, openly and repeatedly disparaging the gun stock human resources director. Confrontations with gun stock personnel that are obviously disruptive and inappropriate. And these are made by the people who are running the day-to-day operations that say that these kind of actions make him unfit to be a commissioner, and that he doesn't understand the boundaries of being the commissioner, what he should do and shouldn't do. And again, he acted inappropriately as a commissioner beyond these repeated conflicts in an attempt to sell. So again, we have an allegation of wrongdoing that is detrimental to the county. Again, because if he's disparaging the human resources director, that puts us at a liability risk. for lawsuits, for workplace harassment. And if we're going to review this, then we should review it and make sure that these things are not happening, not just wipe it away. Again, I don't follow Gunstock probably as tightly as I should. But the people that are there and are following Gunstock are saying that we have a problem with one of our commissioners.
Right.
And so it should be behooving to us to get to the bottom of it, not just take a single piece of paper and another couple pieces of paper and say, yeah, we're gonna make a decision based on that alone. We have, anything we hear from members are gonna be hearsay. We have the opportunity to hear directly from the commissioners and potentially directly from employees as to why they feel this commissioner is not good for Belknap County and good for the Gunstock Commission. And we should probably hear that rather than just automatically dismiss it based on two pieces of paper.
Representative Howard. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do follow it closely, and I'm here to report that I don't have a issue with Commissioner Metz. I have talked to him myself about his program way back when he first came on board. And I told him there's an easy resolution. If you want to have your program at Gunstock, give it to him for free while you're a commissioner. That was the extent of the conversation. I just let him know that that was the only thing that would work. And as far as I know, he never pushed the issue any further. But I will say something about some other commissioners and some of the comments that have been made recently. There was an article in the Sun last week. One of the things I found interesting was it says there was the memorandum of agreement adopted in 1992. Well, the memorandum of agreement was adopted in 2001. And this agreement was to reduce the county tax burden on its residents over the past 27 years. Payments averaged $150,000 annually. In 2018, the delegation did not accept the negotiated memorandum for $175,000 annually put forth by the commission. Well, just happened to luck out, and when I grabbed this 2016 agenda, that's what was in there, memorandum of Belknap County. And it says in here that, that this so-called proposal was to beef up the long-term capital and the operating reserve target of Gunstock. So the offer was they were going to give a check to themselves for $175,000. Say it's the payment to the delegate to the county, and put it in their reserves until they built the reserves up to their level that would meet the enabling statute requirement for them to compensate. But the problem is, under the original memorandum, it was done because the taxpayers of Belknap County bailed Gunstock out to the tune of $6.2 million. We paid it off in a 10-year period. Taxpayers were livid because the Gunstock had a $20 million debt, and the taxpayers are on the hook for it. And the problem is the county commissioners change, the delegation makeup changes. 10 years down the road, Gunstock's telling us, oh, we're doing this out of the goodness of our heart. We don't know the taxpayers now. You know, people don't know what happened in the past.
Hey.
And one other
Can I
thing,
respond?
one other thing, let me just finish. There was a comment made at the conservation meeting in Guilford a couple weeks ago, proposing the master plan. That Gunstock, for the first time, gave back to the county over $240,000. All right,
Chair, are we supposed to be discussing the motion?
This is way out.
2007,
Nothing about.
2008, Gunstock paid the county $318,000, 2009,
Sorry.
322,000, And 2010, 318,000. So these are statements that have no factual backing. And we're gonna believe this commissioner with all these hearsays about what Commissioner Ness has done.
So, Mr. Chair, he asked me a question. Ask me a question. Are you going to believe, I get to respond to his question? That he directed, I'm the one that asked the question that he responded to, and he threw it back.
It was a long response, but yes, it was a response.
It was a
Yeah.
response to a question. So, great distraction, got us confused about a whole bunch of numbers, has nothing to do with the case before us. As you said, the current delegation and the current commissioner board is completely different from way back when we had $20 million worth of debt, And I'm not gonna attribute what they're doing to what some commissioners did in 2020 when we went in debt over the year. Coming back to this question, the question is, do we allow the allegations from the people who are running the day-to-day function to go unanswered? And we're just gonna blatantly just throw them out? Or we actually can find out what happened so we can make a decision on whether we remove Mr. Ness or not? There's no evidence really before us other than two statements of fact that oppose each other. And given that, I'm gonna err on the side of, I wanna hear what happened before I make a ruling. I think that's the right way to do it. If there was malfeasance, we should know that. And we should have the board hear that testimony or hear those hearings.
Representative, do you have something?
Thank you, Chair. We have a motion in a second now. Either way the vote goes, I see that either party can come back to the delegation with a new request with all of the issues that they heard tonight. I would like to.
That's a possibility. Representative, were you trying to get in?
I was. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to say is that the commissioners in their letter didn't ask us to look into the allegations. The only thing they asked us to do was remove the commissioner. Based on that fact alone, I don't think they gave us a choice. So we either have to vote to remove or vote to keep him. They did not ask us to do the investigation or to dig into it to get our own facts. They assumed, they did the fact checking for us, and we have to go based on their letter.
Anybody that hasn't spoken other than the first time yet that wants to speak? Representative Aldridge.
I'll lean back again.
We have these two pieces of paper that everybody keeps talking about, and I see no proof from the accusations from the commissioners. Commissioner Ness only responded to those, what I see as baseless accusations. There's no evidence. They have nothing that says that, other than he tried to sell it, but there was no sale. There was no receipts or anything. I think we just wasted and beat this to death.
I think we are to the point of Representative Harvey Foley.
Really quick, I don't see any malfeasance. I see some just opinions, but I would vote not to proceed to remove Commissioner Ness, but about dismissing the charges, which they're not really charges, I would assume. I don't believe that this would wipe the record of what's happened. So I just would ask for some clarification with regards to that, because, we can just move on and not dismiss Commissioner Ness, but, if it comes up in the future, I don't want it to say, well, we dismissed that. So if you could clarify this dismissing of quote unquote charges.
Right, the minutes of the Gunstock Area Commission from August are public record. They're on their website. They will stay on their website. It's not going away. The minutes of this meeting are also going to be available. So this is not, if dismissed, it is not swept under the rug or anything. It's just that the balance of the material presented favors non-dismissal if this motion carries. All right, I think we have pretty well discussed this issue.
Therefore, Mr. Chair, as a point of order, if we're ready to vote, I know we're not governed by Robert's rules, but we are certainly informed by Robert's rules. It's customary for the maker of the motion to have the last opportunity to speak before the vote. I'm wondering if you would afford him that opportunity, and he may address some of the concerns that have been expressed in his final statement before the vote.
Great to have a parliamentarian on the staff.
Well, thank you.
Representative Silver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. I've viewed a lot of this information, the charge memo from Mr. Quarles, the response by Mr. Ness, various minutes from the Gunstock Commission. It's clear to me that there are two problems that the existing Gunstock commissioners have, the four commissioners have with Commissioner Ness. Commissioner Ness asks inconvenient questions of everyone. And by God, I think that's what we pay him for. And he also wants to insist that the commissioners follow 91A with respect to public meetings. And that's what we pay him for too. And so I think that this is just a witch hunt as it was described. And I urge you to vote for the motion. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, sorry. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Speaker.
Sorry about that.
We did get the last version down there.
So good, I'm gonna do a parliamentary inquiry. So if I know we have no evidence before us, we have two letters, we don't know the factual basis for them, because we didn't ask anybody who was in the know. We just have letters before us, we can't come to a resolution, and therefore, if I know that, what I don't know to the motion.
If I know, if I can take the privilege, if
Now
I know.
we're doing Mason.
We're going from Robert's.
That-
We're doing the books today.
We're gonna,
We have two pieces of information to evaluate. We have discussed those pieces of information, and I will vote in the affirmative. Will I vote in the affirmative? I think I will. The clerk can call the roll.
On the motion by Representative Silver and seconded by Representative Aldrich to dismiss the charges brought against Commissioner Ness by the Gunstock Commissioners and to dismiss the Gunstock Commissioners' request that he be removed. Representative Howard. Are you ready to
You want to
vote?
read that again?
Yes. Representative Silver's motion is to dismiss the charges brought against Commissioner Ness by the Gunstock Commissioners and to dismiss the Gunstock Commissioners' request that Commissioner Ness be removed. Representative Howard votes yes. Representative Aldrich?
Yes.
Representative Bean?
Yes.
Representative Boards?
No.
Representative Harvey Bolia?
Yes.
Representative Huff? Representative Johnson?
Yes.
Representative Littlefield?
No.
Representative Paget?
Yes.
Representative Silver? Representative Carey, yes. Representative Trottier?
No.
Representative Comtois?
yes,
Representative Sylvia?
Yes.
Representative Lang?
no,
Representative O'Hara?
No.
First vote?
The vote is yes, 11, no, 5. The motion carries.
Motion carries. The charge against Commissioner Ness is dismissed. All right, next piece of business I would like to bring to your attention. When we appointed Commissioner Wood at the last meeting, I was presented with information that Commissioner DeMay was sworn in December of 2016. In reviewing the minutes of the delegation's action to appoint, he was actually appointed October 24th. Therefore, there was some delay. That is not our issue. So it's my opinion that Commissioner Demay has completed his term, and Commissioner Wood has been appointed. And while the delegation had agreed that that based on my faulty information, that December would be the appointment date. The appointment date should actually be today, October 25th, the day after the 5-year termination of Representative Silver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The bylaws of the Gunstock Area Commission expressly provide that a newly appointed member of the commission shall be sworn in at the next public meeting after the meeting in which they are appointed. Which this is the first one after the appointment of Ms. Wood.
So I would like to reaffirm or change because of the error in the date, I would move that we make the appointment of Commissioner Wood effective today, October 25th, 2021.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Alders.
Wouldn't it be appropriate to have to move reconsideration of previous vote and reset the date? Because otherwise we have two conflicting votes.
We are amending an error.
Right, so you move the reconsideration
I don't
of the
think
previous vote, because we set the date. in there.
reconsideration is a Mason's thing. We could do that. It would just be a
Just the right way to
two-vote
do it.
process.
Just so we don't have two different votes.
Representative Lang, can you point out in the minutes of the September, are you referring to the minutes of the September?
I'm referring to what Representative Sylvia just said. He said that
he
we
might-
agreed to December 15th. That was the presentation, the vote made on, or the presentation that was made to the delegation. And because of that, they're delaying Commissioner Jade's swearing until 5 years from the date that Commissioner Dumais was sworn in, when in fact it's 5 years from the date of the appointment and next meeting. And so we want to correct it because we've talked in the minutes, or at least the video will reflect a December. We all agreed to December and now we're changing it. We should probably do a reconsideration vote to this way.
Representative Lang, my understanding is that you're asking for an action based on a representation that has been made by Representative and Chair Sylvia tonight. The minutes of the September 9th meeting are in fact the legal record of the proceedings of the Belknap County delegation on that date. I'm asking, that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking, I'm asking, are you able to point out in the minutes where this misstatement of fact is made?
Yes, I can do that. On the first page. Commissioner Demay took office, the oath of office on December 14th, 2016. Commissioner Wood would be sworn in at the Gunstock meeting on December 15th. Without acceptance, so moved. So I will move reconsideration.
So it's actually, because it's a motion that is adopted, Mr. Chairman, you're moving to rescind.
Reconsideration, so we can revote.
A motion to reconsider is not necessarily a motion to rescind an act of previous action is what is in order.
Since we have.
First, if you want to move to reconsider, then that would be followed by a motion to rescind. Because if
And
you're
then
going to,
conversation, whatever the chairman wants to do at this point, Scott, it's a moot one.
why is it a moot point?
All right.
We're talking about a matter of just
Continue, please.
the motion.
Either one gets to the same place.
Excuse me, can we have order here, Mr. Chairman? Look, this is not a backyard club, Mr. Representative O'Hara.
You sure
We're
that
gonna have
meeting is
order. No, we're gonna have order here.
We will move on.
Seriously, this is not good optics. No, you're the one who's speaking out of turn.
Let's move on. I will move to rescind the action of the appointment date of Commissioner Wood.
Excuse me, as a point of personal privilege, may I speak? Chairman, I would just like to clarify, we have many lawyers in our presence today. Can we look to the enabling statute to define when exactly I should be sworn in.
You will be sworn in after we vote on the date for which you will be sworn in, and we have a notary public here to swear you in.
Mr.
So you will
Chairman,
be sworn in tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with your interpretation. I think that it's 5 years from the appointment date, not 5 years from the swearing. So we just got to get the record to reflect it correctly, that's all. So we have an incorrect reflection right now, so that needs to be corrected.
I have made a motion to rescind
Is there a second?
the action.
Second.
Seconded by Aldrich. Discussion? We'll move on when the clerk is ready to call the roll.
The motion, Mr. Chair, as I understand it, that you are moving to rescind the action of September 9th, in which the commission, the delegation voted to agree with your interpretation that Commissioner Wood would be sworn in at the Gunstock meeting on December 15th, 2021. That motion was seconded by Representative Aldrich, and unless there's disagreement, we'll proceed with the vote. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Aldrich,
Yes.
Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Ward, yes, Representative Harvey Bolia,
Yes.
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Littlefield,
Yes.
Representative Bourget,
Yes.
Representative Silver,
Yes.
Representative Terry, yes, Representative Warney, Representative Trottier, Representative Comtois,
Yes.
Representative O'Hara,
Yes.
Representative Lang,
Yes.
Representative Sylvia.
Yes.
Vote is unanimous to rescind 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 0.
Representative Lang.
I move that that Commissioner would be sworn in at the next Gunstock meeting.
You will be appointed tonight. The appointment date will be October 25th and sworn in
Now,
this evening. If that is.
Well, the problem is, I think we said that by the enabling statute, it has to be at the next Gunstock meeting, which is whenever that is. That's what Representative Silver just said.
It is part of the bylaws.
This is the
You
next
know,
one.
zoning, by taking up the office and then checking for regular schedules, meetings, following the members' appointment. Or reappointment, but so you are correct, according to the bylaws. Commissioner Wood will be sworn in Wednesday night.
That's my motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Are we ready to vote? Does everyone understand the motion? Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Aldrich,
Yes.
Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Wards,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Bolia,
Yes.
Representative Huff,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Littlefield,
yes.
Representative O'Hara,
Yes.
Representative Bourget,
Yes.
Representative Lang,
Yes.
Representative Silver,
No.
Representative Terry, yes, Representative Trottier,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
I'm sorry, but I didn't hear the motion, so I apologize.
The motion is to make the appointment of Commissioner Wood effective today and swearing in at the Wednesday Gunstock Area Commission.
Yes, thank you.
Representative Sylvia,
Yes.
has everyone voted? Mr. Chair, the vote was 15 yes and 1 no. Motion passes.
Motion carries, and Commissioner Wood, you'll get sworn in on Wednesday night. I'd like to take a 10-minute recess. Yeah, recess for 10 minutes.
This is from their. Open law from today, water taker.
And I'd just like to say that these difficulties with the commission has been kind of hard, and we set a path a few years ago to go down this path of trying to get the gunstock area into a more sustainable situation, following more of a business style approach. And I think we've had difficulty merging a county asset into a business model. It's very difficult to work in that way. So I think this body, as we go over time, needs to look at perhaps the direction that we want to take. We want to continue down this path to the business model that's been set out at this particular point in time. Representative Silver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion. I would like to move that we reaffirm the status of the Gunstock Recreation Area as set forth in chapter laws of 1959, chapter 399, 399:2. The Gunstock Area Commission is an agency of the county of Belknap, and the purpose of the operation is to further the public interest thereby, that it is not a private business and should not be run as like a private business might be run. Rather, it should be run like a department of the county of Belknap, and in accordance and be subject to the same oversight by the delegation that any department or agency of the county is subject to. I need a second.
Seconded by Representative Howard.
I have comments.
I'd like to be heard on this rogue motion that
We have a motion and
it's not on the agenda.
we
It
are.
goes directly
Attorney
to my
Corrals,
clients,
the
and it's out of order.
proceedings here.
You are out of order.
I cannot.
This
be out
is
of
not
order.
on the agenda, and Representative Silver is suggesting that you have the authority
You,
to
sir,
amend
are out
the
of order.
Gunstock enabling statute,
You can-
which you certainly do not. The
and
1959 statute controls, you cannot interpret it. That says you have a point of authority only over the commission. That's all you have, okay?
Please sit down.
I will sit down when I'm finished, and that is to say that this is a rogue motion with no authority, and you
Let's
cannot
not
take
hear the
this up.
subject, let's try and bullshit some laws.
Hey, let's remain here.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's.
We have-
This
We
is
have a
absolutely
motion.
ridiculous.
We have a motion, we have a second. Representative Silver, you want to speak to your motion?
Yes, the revenues last reported by the Gunstock Area Commission were 14 million and change, or rather the disbursements for fiscal year April 30th, which is about the same, pretty close to the same as the nursing home of the county. That we spend a great deal of time dealing with their budget in exquisite detail, line item by line item. We have seen in the month of August, in the public record now, that over $100,000 in cash was paid in bonuses to some of the top people working at Gunstock. We have $6.2 million was bailed out by the county commission several years ago, and apparently not repaid by Gunstock. There's proposals for capital expenditures of large sums, many millions of dollars. And there appears to be improper delegation from the commission to the general manager, giving him authority to expend money without much oversight. And it just seems to me, and I've introduced a bill that would require the Gunstock Commission to submit its proposed budget for approval and discussion by the delegation, just as every other department of the county does. And whether it passes or not, the fact of the matter is It's being operated like it's a private business. The chair has repeatedly in testimony before this commission or before the delegation referred to Gunstock as the company. It's not a company. It's part of its property owned by the taxpayers of Belknap County. It was sitting on over $6 million in cash at April 30th. And I was embarrassed for the governor, Senator Rick Scott, the guest speaker, Senator Kelly Ayotte, and many other dignitaries came to an event at the Gunstock main lodge to see that months after they were sitting on $6 million plus, they had not air conditioned that facility. The facility which could have been air conditioned for the summer and could have been available for rent as a wedding venue, but no one would use it during the summer months because it wasn't air conditioned. I think it's basically out of control and it needs to be brought back under the control of the delegation.
Representative O'Hara.
So why did this ever leave the county control? Like, what was the idea behind giving this to the commissioners to run? Like, should we just sell this parcel of land and let a business take it over?
So one
Like,
of,
why keep draining the taxpayer if it's not gonna work?
Representative Howard.
The answer to your question, at one point, the county commissioners oversaw total operation of Gunstock. And they decided that to relieve them of their burden, they wanted to create this Gunstock Commission to oversee the day-to-day operation. And that's how we ended up with the enabling statute for the county commission, but that was back in 1959. So I don't have all the knowledge of that.
Representative Lang.
Mr. Chair, I have two comments. The first, depending what your ruling is on this, I'll go to my second, but I believe the motion is out of order. I'd ask you to rule it as out of order. It's not on the agenda. Anybody who wanted to be here and the public that might have wanted to be here to have this discussion about how we treat Gunstock has not been noticed. And I'd ask that you rule it out of order and allow it to be on the agenda for the next meeting that we have.
I will not be ruling it out of order. This is an issue that flows out of the removal issue that we addressed earlier. And I think it's perfectly appropriate to address in this fashion. Representative Boards.
So how does this flow out of the previous issue? How does this pertain to the previous issue?
This is an issue dealing with Gunstock. We have a tremendous amount of conflict within that body over there. And I think that it is our duty to make sure that the board that we appoint, the Gunstock Area Commission, is advised of how we consider their mission.
So,
Representative Cloutier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe this is procedural, but is a tabling motion in order? And may I speak to?
Tabling motion is always in order. Is there a second?
Second.
Representative O'Hara.
May I speak to it?
Motion?
Yes.
the motion is non-debatable.
I'm sorry, you are correct. Right.
It's non-debatable.
Call the roll.
So who's second?
Me.
Representative
I'm
O'Hara.
sorry.
Mayor O'Hara.
I am O'Hara today.
So the motion is to table Representative Silver's motion.
Representative Silver, do you have your motion in writing?
No,
Well, I think you're gonna need to repeat it to me because I don't take shorthand. So could you go a little more slowly?
to reaffirm
Yes,
the provisions of
okay, well,
chapter,
this is a little different, so, okay,
reaffirm
reaffirm
the provisions
the
of
provisions of
the laws of 1959, chapter 399, 399:2, that describes the Gunstock Area Commission as an agency of the county of Belknap, and 399:1, that the purpose is to further the public interest. And that it should be operated just like a department, any other department or agency of the county, under the auspices of the county commissioners and the delegation, and not be run as if it were a private business.
Oh, my. When the clerk is ready to call the question.
The motion to table, Representative Bourget, seconded by Representative O'Hara. Representative Howard,
No,
Representative Aldrich,
No,
Representative Dean,
No.
Representative Boards,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Bolia,
Yes.
Representative Huff,
no,
Representative Johnson,
No.
Representative Littlefield,
No.
Representative Bourget,
Yes.
Representative Silver,
No.
Representative Trottier,
Yes.
Representative Comtois,
Yes.
Representative O'Hara,
Yes.
Representative Lang,
Yes.
Representative Carey, no. Representative Sylvia.
no,
Motion to table fails, 7 yes, 9 no.
Any further discussion on the main motion? Representative Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, I'm going to renew that this is an inappropriate motion and ask this through that intervening business. We have a new ruling. As I understand your reasoning, your statement is that it flows out of the previous discussion, which strictly had to do with RSA 399:4, the point of agency. And nowhere did it have to do with anything with RSA 399:1 or 399:2 has been referenced by Representative Silver. I go on to say that Representative Silver is selective in his reading of Representative in 399:1, because it further goes on to say that is hereby declared that the purpose of this chapter are to provide for a commission to operate, maintain, develop, improve, and promote, in addition to recreational activities and further the interest of. And so in that reading, I believe the gun stock's doing what it's supposed to do. And I also think that the motion is out of order as it's not been noticed properly to the public, and that it doesn't flow out of a conversation of 399:4. I ask for another ruling of the chair to declare that it is an appropriate motion, given the fact that it hasn't been noticed and it has nothing to do with 399:4.
The chair stands with the opinion expressed earlier.
I challenge the ruling of the chair.
Representative Lang challenges the ruling of the chair. Question will be. Parliamentarian rule.
Challenging the ruling of the chair, those voting yes will be voting to sustain the ruling. Those voting no will be voting against sustaining the ruling of the chair.
So we need a second.
I'll second it.
So the
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can you just clarify which way the votes go again? I just misunderstood that.
So since the ruling is being challenged, the formal vote is either to sustain the chair's ruling or to agree with Representative Lang, who wishes not to sustain the ruling of the chair. He challenges it.
Okay, so yes, sustains the ruling.
I guess.
Okay, thank you. That's the way I understand it.
Yes, vote says that you agree with Representative Sylvia's, that
Yes,
it is germane and it is appropriate, and no vote means that it is inappropriate and should be a motion to it further behind.
the motion is not, yes, that's right.
Is that clear to
Yes.
our folks remotely attending? The vote yes supports the ruling of the chair. The vote no is a vote against the ruling of the chair.
Are we ready to vote?
You're ready to vote.
Representative Howard,
yes,
Representative Aldrich.
yes,
Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Boards.
No.
Representative Harvey Bolia.
No.
Representative Huff.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Littlefield.
Yes.
Representative Pojay.
No.
Representative Silver.
Yes.
Representative Terry, yes. Representative Trottier.
No.
Representative Comtois.
yes,
Representative O'Hara.
No.
Representative Lang.
No.
Representative Sylvia.
Yes.
Challenge is not sustained.
Any
The ruling of the chair is sustained by a vote of 10 to 6.
Any further discussion on the main motion? So let's go to a vote.
Please inform Representative Comtois I'm running out of forms to fill in. Okay. Motion by Representative Silver, it was seconded by Representative Walden,
Yes.
correct?
No. Oh, I'm sorry.
Representative Howard,
No.
thank you. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Aldridge,
Yes,
Representative Bean,
Yes.
Representative Board.
No.
Representative Harvey Bolia.
Point of clarification, we're voting to reaffirm something that's already been written.
That's been amended multiple times since then,
It's been amended.
since 1959.
I abstain.
You weren't alive.
Representative Harvey Bolia abstains. Representative Huff,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Littlefield,
Yes.
Representative Pojay,
Yes.
Representative Silver,
Yes.
Representative Terry, yes. Representative Trottier,
No.
Representative Comtois,
yes,
Representative O'Hara,
Abstain, I want nothing to do with this.
Representative Lang,
No.
motion passes 10 yes, 3 no, 2 abstentions.
Motion carries. All right. See, we're on Earth Light. Let's run off now.
Presentation of gun stock master.
So the presentation was canceled.
Supplemental appropriations.
And we will go on to the question of a supplemental appropriation request. As I believe we discussed, there have been requests of spending the money for the ARPA funds. And the commissioners are not willing to put certain items on their list, and we had talked about at our last meeting requesting a supplemental appropriation on our own by the statute. And so what we would have is a vote tonight, which would put forward a request which would be noticed to the towns. And then we would, after, I believe it's 10 days notice, we would have another meeting to possibly approve supplemental appropriation. In the interest of disclosure, there is one issue that seems pressing, and that is a Silver Lake project for which the timing of this money grant to DES would, at this point, possibly be able to get the feasibility study going in time to work into the 2023 budget for the state, so that the construction would be able to go forward. Another issue is DRA apparently can't set rates for the county towns until that meeting is done, even though we are going to be using money that's already here, won't change the tax rate. Apparently they can't send out the notices to the towns to set the rates, and that would probably put us at middle of November to set rates. If I covered that correctly, Ms. Shackett?
Yes.
Okay. I see you have members of the Silver Lake Association who've been tirelessly working on this proposal. You have comments that you'd like to make, brief comments?
Just a brief comment that, you know, this dam is not just a Silver Lake, this dam covers Winnisquam and Winnisocky.
Who's this?
Right now, because,
We need a name.
oh, I'm sorry, Paul O'Connell, Silver Lake Robinson,
Could you, I'm sorry, sir, could you spell your last name?
O'Connell,
O-C-O
Nnell.
O'Connell.
That's one.
Got it, thank you.
From
Silver
Belmont,
Lake?
Belmont.
Belmont.
They, the dam down there will assist all the other lakes. It'll assist the Franklin deal. Right now, Winnisquam is well above normal because they have to hold the water back. They're building down there. We're down to, you can drive around the shoreline. What happens is, when they need water down there, one day they dropped off, 14 inches in 12 hours, raised the lake. It's like, thing was over with, they shut it down. Winnisquam lost a lot of water. They had to pump all that water through us. Sauk is being held back because they can't dump it into Winnisquam. At least with the dam there, it would benefit Winnisocky, Winnisquam. They could release whatever water they needed, and just flows up through our normal level. Right now, they have to take us from below normal, raise us up, and then pass it on. And I think a lot of this would be fixed just with the dam, which they've been proposing for years. People who've been here at the meeting know this is an ongoing issue, and we just need to get a jump on it now so we can get into passing it off to the state, let them do work with it. If we get seed money in and they start in, well, we'll give a lot of jobs. I'm gonna keep that at that. Anyone have any questions?
Representative Howard.
I'd like to ask a question. I don't know if you would be able to answer this. In this Great Pierce Engineering for Better Environment report, it states that there's a limitation of 2,000 cubic feet per second. Even if a dam was in place without altering terrain. And they're saying that, the Lakeport Dam releases 4,000 feet per second in capacity. Is this dam going to transform the landscape around the river?
To be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure. And that's one of the reasons for the study. If they say, I don't know, we've probably heard different things going on there. We want the study, let the study tell us what we need to do.
Thank you.
Can you just walk me through the process again? I'm trying to understand it. What happens here? Who would be writing a check? Are we writing it the right Pierce? Are we writing it the DES? And if it's the DES, have we had conversation with DES? Can they take on this additional workload this year to supplement, put the money in?
Indeed, they've been working with Jim Gallagher at DES, who works with Right Pierce also. So the money by the statute 482.53 253 allows for the DES to accept a gift for this project specifically. And the funds that we are looking at here, up to $625,000, would get the feasibility study going on it, so that it would be ready for possible funding in the chair of capital. Capital program. They, Chairman, we said that having this funded would allow a better position in the battle for funding from the state. So this would be seed money essentially to get this dam project going. And it would just go to DES as a gift, and Frank Pierce just did this to throw together some realistic numbers. Previously, we had $1 million ballpark that just came from Gallagher. So this is a little more refined. Of course, if we voted tonight to seek 625, we could also, when we come to the appropriate time, reduce that if we felt that a lesser amount would be sufficient.
So, okay, so tonight we would vote on seeking it. We then notice for the public to be able to attend the public hearing to discuss the supplemental appropriation. And then on that night, we would actually vote on the supplemental appropriation.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, and I think the idea of the 2,000 cubic feet per second, I guess it is, with the dam, it adjusts that more readily, so we essentially maintain the level of Silver Lake better. And it also helps to manage the upper lakes, Winnisquam and Winnipesaukee. And currently, there's a lot of environmental damage every time that flow comes up and down. It's taking flushing soil and flushing it down into the remainder of the river. So it's an important project. I think it's something we need to address. I will make a motion to put forward a request for supplemental appropriation for this project in the amount of $625,000
From the ARPA funds.
The source would be ARPA funds.
Second. Belmont Village just second that.
We should let the representative.
Just vote Belmont Tilden, second, everyone.
It says here Tilton is really the one that's most affected. Tilton's.
Representative Trotter for the second.
Who are we seeking this from? Usually in a motion, you specify. So you're requesting a supplemental appropriation of 625,000. Who are we
So
requesting that from?
we are requesting that the administration advertise.
Who are we seeking this from? Commissioners?
We are.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, may I speak for a moment?
Yes,
Thank
absolutely. Commissioner Skanas.
So I want to make sure that all the members of the delegation understand how this process would work. You are the appropriating authority. The Board of Commissioners is the spending authority. So if you were to choose to appropriate $625,000 out of the ARPA funds, the board would have to, by at least a 2-to-1 margin, vote to approve that. Our Board of Commissioners have voted to not request any more ARP funding until the 2022 budget is completed by the Board of Commissioners and submitted. And then, of course, next January, we begin the process of having delegation vet it line by line to approve it. So before any additional discussion is taking place here, or before a vote is taken, I just want to make sure that point is very, very clear. That the delegation appropriates, the Board of Commissioners spend. Thank you.
Representative Ploget and then Representative Boards.
Thank you, Chair. May I ask a question?
If he doesn't mind.
Not at all.
Thank you. I'm not sure if you can answer this, but from what I heard is it might not be approved. There's 2 ways to vote. You said 2/3. But by doing, if this passes the supplemental appropriation, I've been approached by my district's town of New Hampton administrator that this will delay his tax notices going out. I checked with the DRA, Michelle Clark, as she reaffirmed. Now, the question to you, because of the, bear with me,
Sure.
the DRAs has to postpone and push off their town tax assessment. Do you have a recommendation for the delegation, or could you give a recommendation for the delegation to save taxpayers and other departments time and, make this more efficient? Could it be put off for 2 months? And in 2 months, can you make a comment on the commission's view of this appropriation?
Yeah, thank you for the question.
I hope you
Thank
understand.
you. My recommendation is that the delegation table any further discussion until the turn of the calendar. The Board of Commissioners is not prepared to sign any checks or anything coming out of ARPA funding until the budget is written by us, submitted to the delegation, and approved by the delegation at large. I will add one more thing. I'm familiar with the landscape down there. A dam could and should be a very, very good idea. But generally speaking, this is a state responsibility, not a county responsibility. And I say that because the state will want to write its own study and do it their way and build the dam based on their study. I'm not sure that a study underwritten by this county will hold water with them and carry any weight should it be done. So my respectful recommendation to this delegation is to table any further discussion of the dam project or any other ARPA project you may be interested in until we complete our budget work. And in the meanwhile, if this comes off the table, the taxes can be processed accordingly before it gets too late.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is it okay if we ask Commissioner Samuels a question?
If you'll take it.
So you're basically saying even if we vote to move forward with this, it's not gonna move forward until next year, no matter what, for the most part?
I'll say two things. The Board of Commissioners is not prepared to write any checks for this project right now, as I previously stated. I will also say that to appropriate any fund, any county money for this particular project without a quid pro quo ironclad guarantee from the state of New Hampshire that if we underwrite the study, they will build that dam at any cost in a timely fashion. I don't think I need to remind any of you that this has been discussed since 1985. This was supposed to have gotten done way back in 1985. Here we are in 2021. I know the county minister has spoken with DES. She spoke with Mr. Gallagher, and he has given no assurance that A, they'll accept the findings of the study, and B, they'll act accordingly after it's completed.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, as I understand it, the motion is to request from the county commissioners a supplemental appropriation of 625, or to request, who are we requesting this from?
So we are requesting
A supplemental appropriation of 625,000 of ARPA funds for Silver Lake and feasibility study. All right, who are we requesting this from?
So the request is Ms. Shackett, you probably have the statute fresh in your head.
Well, I'm just a little worried that the motion, because my understanding is you're not voting on a supplemental appropriation.
Correct.
You're voting on whether or not you want to pursue this at another meeting, post it and consider it at a public hearing.
Right, so this is to have the administration post the supplemental request, which needs to be mailed out to all of the towns in the city and county. And then we would have another delegation meeting 10 days later.
So we're requesting a supplemental appropriation to the current year's budget. Right. And what we're
Mr. Chair?
Representative Contal, go ahead.
Thank you. I thought that we had to expend the first part of the ARPA money by the end of the year. Was I mistaken? Or what is the deadline for extending that first part of the ARPA money?
I believe it's all like future time, that there's no requirement to spend anything right now. 24.
December 31st, 2020.
Representative Terry, did you?
So I just wanted to be clear, the county commissioners, are you speaking for the county commissioners, Commissioner Spanos? The county commissioners are opposed to this at this time and requesting that this motion be tabled. Because you don't want to take this up until next year in your normal budgetary process?
That's correct, Representative Terry, and as I explained, our board voted unanimously to not request any additional appropriated ARP funds for the simple reason that we don't know where we're headed with the budget into the new year. You know, we know what we're dealing with nationally, we know what we're dealing with in the state, we know what we're dealing with inflation. We see the cost of wages, insurance, and materials going up in the county, and the cost of business we know is going to get exponentially higher. So knowing that and acknowledging that, we decided the safe play is to hold off on ARP expenditures, get this budget written, make sure we can manage it, make sure it passes muster with the delegation, then we can move forward with additional ARP requests. They may come from us, they may come from some of you or all of you, and certainly more will come from the public.
Representative Lang?
Mr. Chair, given all this conversation, I guess I'm trying, as much as I'm sympathetic to my district in Tilton, but I'm sympathetic to it. Is there any reason we'd want to go to the expense of supplemental appropriation in this budget, in this cycle, when we know we're going to start budget hearings all over again in January in 2 months? And why wouldn't we just let it take the normal budgetary process? Is there an overriding factor that something that's been going on since 1995, we now have to act within 2 months?
So, if that's a question.
That's like a question to the chair. Let's understand what the urgency is.
Yeah, the urgency is the concept of getting the study going and creating an incentive for inclusion in the 2023 budget cycle for the state. So the sooner it gets started, the more likely it is that.
Follow-up question.
Sure.
So if I understand part of this conversation, though, our issue is with the supplemental appropriation on the table, so to speak, for the delegation, it hinders GRA from setting tax rates. Whereas we can act immediately on it in January and make it the first budgetary item we bring up as a request for ARPA funding, and approve it and send it as an appropriation and take action. It would stop GRA from setting the rates that they need to set. Otherwise, again, it sounds like that GRA is going to be stuck in limbo saying, we're not sure what rates we're setting because you guys have the supplemental appropriation hanging out at the end of your year. Is that?
I would just say that we generally finish our budget end of February, generally, so that's going to be a delay of 4 months. With Representative Johnson and Silver.
So my question is, wouldn't we want, as Commissioner Spanos, and I'm trying to ask and learn all this, but if we do the appropriation now with the amount of money that they've already quoted us, wouldn't that help lock us in so the rates don't go up? Because like you said, we don't know what it's going to cost later by doing this now. Wouldn't this help lock us in so that the rate, it doesn't get kicked down the road any longer since 1985? I know the area, I kind of grew up, so that's my question is, we don't want the money to go higher than what it already is. We want to try to keep control of the cost.
No, I don't believe it's beneficial to vote on it now because again, we don't know what the budget's going to look like. We don't know what the additional demands between now and next January, February are going to be on the remaining ARP fund money that has not been allocated yet. And as I said before, I think a lot more work needs to be done with the state and DES in terms of trying to at least get some kind of an agreement, if not a guarantee, that if the county does this for really is essentially a state, it's all state-owned waterways. If the county were to pony up for this, we want more than just a kiss in the mail saying, well, thank you very much, and we're gonna pass it down for further. We're gonna form a new study committee on it, and then we'll wait another 36 years, and then maybe we'll talk about it again. So that's really the issue. If the state is delayed and delayed and delayed, I understand the chair's anxiety over wanting to get this done. I think there are sound environmental reasons for doing it, but it's got to be done the right way, and there's a process that must be followed to get it done.
Representative Silver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I address questions or Commissioner Spanos? So let me make sure I understand this. We've got a lot of constituents who want this project done and have wanted it done for a very long time. And you're saying that if the delegation appropriated the money for this study, that the county commissioners would not spend it?
At this time, the county commissioners would not. That is.
And you would make the disbursement, the spending of this, the disbursement of this money for the study, whenever it's done, conditioned on getting some type of ironclad guarantee with the agency everyone loves to hate, DES.
Not all of us, representatives, some, not all.
It's between DES and DMV, right? Which one is the favorite one?
DMV in my view.
So in other words, and how do you propose, I mean, what is the likelihood of being able to actually get an enforceable agreement with DES that they're gonna follow through on this responsibility of theirs?
I think, thank you for the question. I think Representative Silva, that's really based on the energy and the initiative of this present delegation going to Concord and speaking with perhaps the speaker, the Senate president, even the governor's office, and putting together a political coalition of influence to sponsor legislation to get this in statute, get it in the budget and get it done. And then I think the Board of Commissioners would be a lot more kindly disposed in writing this check, knowing that for $625,000, we're gonna get an $8 to $10 million dam. That will be of the benefit of the Lakes region at large.
I don't know which way this would go, but if we tabled this, would that mess around anything with tax rates?
Thank you for the question. I think that would be beneficial because DRA, if it were tabled tonight and there are no additional discussions of appropriation to now in the end of the calendar year, DRA could set the rates and we could be done with it and get to work on the budget.
So we'd have to set a date of tabling it though, it'd have to be at least end of the year. Because if it's open on the table, it can be moved up to any time.
You can move it off the
Yeah,
table.
so it
anytime.
wouldn't still impact the area.
To Representative O'Hare, and Commissioner Spranos, I spoken with DRA Michelle Clark, and she also confirmed if it's tabled this year before December 31st, they would have to wait. The new budget fiscal year, if she knew there was nothing from now to new fiscal year, she can continue as they're doing with their budget. I asked her about another month, and she said it has to be to the next fiscal year. Otherwise, she would have to delay all her work.
Ms. Shackett, could you clarify for me?
Yes, I know, from talking to
Michelle
Bruce
Clark.
Canua, is
Okay.
who I think Michelle works for. That DRA is gonna hold up the tax rate setting until they can be assured, and he said by me, I can give him no assurance that this delegation is not going to do a supplemental appropriation. So he's gonna call me tomorrow morning and say, are they gonna consider a supplemental? And if the answer is yes, they're going to consider it, then he will just hold off, there'll be no tax rate set until that answer can be, they're not going to do a supplemental. As soon as it's either done or determined that it will not happen, then they will set tax rates.
They hold off, do we not pay taxes?
That's, yes, you won't get a bill.
Representative O'Hara.
If we were to table this now and walk out, what would your response be to them tomorrow? If he called you and said, are they gonna appropriate it or not?
I will say I don't know. They tabled it, they made no decision.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to see what your response would be. Thank you.
Representative Lang.
Just a question for the Commissioner, if I may. Thank you, Commissioner Spanos. So I guess my question is that if we were to vote this down for today, and knowing that it's a priority of the delegation to be brought up in the next budget cycle, would the commissioners be amendable to, again, knowing that there's absolutely no guarantees in this life, the fact that knowing the delegation wants to bring this forward, would you make that a priority of your budgeting cycle, knowing that the delegation and a substantial portion of our county wants this to move forward?
Thank you for the question, Representative Lang. And I would be supportive of that, but not for the reasons you think. The reason I would be supportive of it initially, and I've had discussions with the chair
and with Representative Sylvia about this and other art projects. And it seems that the more we bring it under discussion, the more we shine lights under the carpet, the price seems to go down. We started out with an estimate of $1 million. We're at $625,000, I believe. The county administrator spoke with DES, and one of the discussions that came out, it could, a quality study that could pass muster with the state, with DES, could be done for around $500,000. So we started out.
So again, I think, given the negatives, and again, it's in my district, and I'm very hesitant to say this, but I think the appropriate action is to allow, to, with the assurance of what the commissioners gave us, that they will address us, and we can add it to the budget. Again, we're the appropriation authority in the budget cycle for coming up, that we're gonna start in December, or whatever we get our budget book, December 1st, when we get our budget book. I think it's appropriate to allow that to go through the normal budgeting cycle, allow the tax rates to be set, so we're not hanging up everything with the DRA and getting tax bills out, and then, again, I think we've made it very well known that this is a priority of the delegation. We're gonna add it to the budget if they don't. So, I think that's probably the appropriate process to have that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one firm that has developed and is quoting an estimated cost for professional engineering and environmental services for a future feasibility study. Do we have any other? Have we requested any others?
That is, so this was done as a courtesy to folks that knew about it. So it was just a preliminary ballpark estimate to go through the RFP process once DES has the funding.
Follow up. So if it's been done as a courtesy, then would it be advisable to actually get 2 or 3 different estimates? I mean, if we're going to go ahead and appropriate, I believe the motion is a request for a supplemental appropriation of $625,000 based on an estimate that comes from one firm. Are we comfortable with that?
So the question of the delegation.
And it's not a motion appropriate, it's a motion to pursue appropriations. We're not voting to actually vote money, we're just pursuing whether or not we want to appropriate.
Correct.
The motion as it is written right now is to request a supplemental appropriation.
Mr. Chairman, if I could speak.
Say that again, Mike.
Please.
Sorry to interrupt. My name is Jim Brown. I'm with Silver Lake. I've met you all before, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk about and support us. So far, DES actually contacted a firm. The name of the firm is Gannett and Fleming. Okay, and DES came up with an estimate from the original price downsized to almost in half to $530,000. Okay, for the study, which wouldn't include permits or dredging or some of the work that would be pretty costly. It's just basically do the analysis, do the study. So Wright and Pierce, which is another firm, came between $550,000 and $625,000. So we've cut the price in half to get the study going. Okay, I agree with Commissioner Spanos. Okay, I know he has to do his budgets and whatnot. You brought up a good point. If we could get the whole delegation, okay, contacting the governor's office, the governor's council in support of this project, so we can get them aware of it. Okay, I think that would be immense. Okay, because it's going to be a state-owned project and it should be on their table. It should be on their table. Okay, so thanks for the time. Thanks for listening. I appreciate the support. And, we waited a long time. Okay, we know we're going to wait longer. It is what it is. We need to get the ball going. Okay, and we need to get from start to finish. Thanks.
Jim Brown, is it?
Yes.
What town?
Belmont.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
At this point, I'm going to withdraw the motion and probably second. withdrawing his.
If you agree to withdraw.
So the motion is
The
withdrawn
seconder
and,
agrees to withdraw.
the tax rate can be set. Representative Lang.
So, Mr. Chair, I just want to be clear, I think it's pretty clear that everybody on this delegation supports the idea of the appropriation from the ARPA funds to have this project move forward. I think it's just a timing. Had this come back 6 months ago, it'd probably be a different discussion right now than what we're seeing. So I just want to make it clear that by not taking action today, it's not that we don't support the program, we just want to have to go through the proper process so that DRA can set the rate. The delegation seems to be in full support of the project.
Very good. Further business?
Chair, it might be useful to take a sense of the delegation in terms of the overall support for the concept of the project. I think that would mean a lot to the people of.
The commissioners too.
So
Certainly
so I would move, gee, I better write it. Does anybody understand what I'm trying to do?
Yeah, you want a straw poll. You
You
want
wanna
a
see
straw
how we
poll.
feel about the stamp?
We're removing a sense of the delegation in support of the Silver Lake Dam project.
Point of order. Was the motion,
The motion was
Withdrawn.
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 okay, it has been. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So I would just, as chair, ask for hands, if you are in support of the general idea of supporting this dam project from the ARPA money.
Can we ask representatives to support the project?
Yes.
I don't know about being yet, though.
So I think the commission has got that strong support from the delegation.
Okay, the support of the Silver Lake Dam feasibility study.
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you.
It was only a straw poll.
Well, it says it's the sense of the delegation. It's the sense.
Not a vote.
Let's just
Well, that's not a vote.
At this moment in time.
Let's just give them a yes.
We do have one.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
No motion, your second. That's your discretion. It's your discretion to take a sense of the delegation. No, we're talking about the Silver Lake.
So
we
we
know.
motion Second.
Yes, we have to wait, you have to do
By Robert's rules, we are now.
Yeah, but there we go. There we go. Previously, I saw it like, how?